Hey guys, just before the video starts, a quick reminder that due to the changes to the YouTube partnership program, your subscriptions are going to be even more important than before. So if you appreciate or like the content, please subscribe to the channel. The faster we hit the 1,000 subscribers, the faster I'll be able to deliver continuous content to you guys. So now, let's move on to the video.
Hey everyone, it's Rick from Maple Syrup Tech. Today we're going to be looking at another budget cooler, and this is actually one that is a little bit different than the standard coolers we review because it has a radial fin design. It's actually a cooler called the Juno X from RAIJINTEK, and the reason I wanted to test this cooler is because you can often find these coolers on the market from eBay and whatnot. However, what differentiated the RAIJINTEK is that if you look on average, this is the normal size of the coolers that you would buy on eBay. If you look, quite a difference in size and weight in the two coolers. So I wanted to see if the RAIJINTEK model is worth it in a world where right now, when you buy especially Ryzen processors, you're not getting dinky little CPU coolers anymore. So I wanted to see if something like this is still worth buying on the market. So without further ado, let's start by looking at the specifications of the cooler, and then we'll take a look at the numbers it gave. So the RAIJINTEK Juno X is what's called a radial fin design cooler. It comes with an integrated PWM compatible fan which spans 92 millimeters and has a max RPM of 2500. The Juno X comes in many versions considering the lighting, so you either have the basic version without lighting, or you can have a red LED, green LED, blue LED, and there's even an RGB option. The heatsink itself without the fan weighs 130 grams. The cooler is compatible with all modern sockets including AM4, and that's right out of the box without any type of extra adapter needed. The dimensions overall on the cooler, which is one of the high points, is that it's only 58 millimeters high and 118 millimeters wide. So now let's move on and see what type of results it gave. So now that we have a better idea of what the Juno X is offering as a cooler, let's take a look at the results we got in performance. So before we go there, let's just go over my methodology really quick. So all coolers are tested on my Ryzen 3 test bench system. It's a Ryzen 3 1200, which is overclocked to 3.9 gigahertz using 1.3 volts to hit that overclock. I also use the exact same thermal paste on all my tests, which is Arctic MX4, and the fan speed is locked to 100%. As well, you should know that during all my testing, all results will be in delta temperatures, meaning temperatures above ambient. And for the sound tests, I use a portable sound meter which is 2 feet away from the motherboard, simulating someone who plays with their tower on their desk a few feet away from their, where they're playing, where they're gaming from. So it's a worst case real life scenario that I'm trying to test. Worst case in the sense that since I'm using an open air test bench, there's absolutely no sound dampening or anything coming from the case. So, without further ado, let's take a look first at the temperature results. So the temperature results should be on the screen right now for the Juno X, and unfortunately it was not a very strong performer. As you can see, at 42 degrees above ambient, it sets it as one of the worst coolers I've tested so far, at least one of the worst coolers that is still represented on my charts. So unfortunately, heat dissipation is not a strength for the Juno X. Now, if we move on to sound testing for the Juno X, once again at 48 decibels, it unfortunately did not perform well sound-wise either. It was one of the noisiest coolers that we've tested. It's not the noisiest. A couple of the Cooler Master coolers actually outshot it on the sound side, but at the same time, at 48 decibels, it's far from a quiet cooler. So what does that mean for the Juno X? Unfortunately, the Juno X, as other radial designs that I've tested so far, I'll be honest, it's one of the better ones I've tested, but at the same time, it just doesn't cut it. The price on the cooler is really attractive at under $15. I picked this one up for $12.99, but at the same time, nowadays with the stock Ryzen coolers that you get, it just, unfortunately, like I said, doesn't cut it. It does not perform. It's even outperformed by the Ryzen Stealth cooler. The Ryzen Stealth is quieter and dissipates more heat. I was interested in testing the design because if RAIJINTEK took the time to actually integrate LEDs and RGB into this style of cooler, I thought they had found really a design or, a sufficiently dense enough aluminum stack where the performance was actually going to be slightly better. But I was underwhelmed, unfortunately. As you can see the results, I mean, at $15 to $20, as long as you can fit a tower cooler in your system, there are way better options out there. The Gamax 200 at $15 or less is going to outperform this cooler by leagues. Like, it's two different worlds. Like, you can't even compare them. And at the same time, as I said, if you're toting a Ryzen system, just stick with your stock cooler. The stock cooler doesn't stand much taller and at the same time offers better performance. The only reason I can see that someone would want to buy the RAIJINTEK Juno X would be if you're looking at well, I can see two reasons. Number one, you're using an Intel system that doesn't generate a lot of heat and you just want a low cooler, and basically, or you want to replace the stock cooler for Intel, and rather than drop $10 on another stock cooler, you want to have a slightly better designed cooler. Or at the same time, if you're looking at a low design cooler and you want better looks, because the LED integration or the RGB integration is actually gives it a pretty nice look on the Juno X. And you can see on the screen right now an idea of what it looks like when it's up and running. So the LEDs are pretty nice. The overall look is okay. But that's really the only reason I could see anyone buying this cooler, is because either you're running like an i5 8400 at stock, which is a stock cooler and you can't overclock, and you just want something that's better than your Intel cooler, but at the same time that has a very small footprint, but you can up the aesthetics a little bit. But other than that, if you're looking for performance, honestly, look elsewhere. It's not one of the better performing coolers, and even at the low profile coolers, there are better options out there. So unfortunately for me, the RAIJINTEK Juno X is it attracted me because of the looks, and I thought that maybe RAIJINTEK had found somewhat better design. But as other coolers in this format and this overall design, it just doesn't cut it. So it is definitely a pass on this one, unless you're in one of the situations I explained earlier. So I hope you guys appreciated this review. If you disagree with me, please leave it in the comments down below. But at the same time, the cooler itself is only rated for 70 watts. So even RAIJINTEK themselves, I think, knew that this cooler wasn't going to blow anyone away performance-wise. I hope you guys liked the review. Like I said, likes and subscribes are always appreciated. And as usual, I'll see you guys in my next video.